Morning, people. So I got a question overnight in email that I think it's worth answering for everyone. The question was about when to take profits and how to adjust trailing stops. Okay, so there's a couple of key points to understand. If you are dealing with trending markets, like for example, this is a trending market in natural gas, it's going to be generally optimal to trail a stop. If you are dealing with range-bound markets like like this market in this phase here, where it's inconclusive, you're going to be better off. You're going to be better off with a target. So let's get that out of the way straight. Now, most traders place their stops too tight at the start of a trade and too loose at the end of a trade. So what I mean by that is, let's say you're actually, let's choose something that's a bit cleaner. AUDUSD's had a nice run here. So let's say you got long on this retest right here. So you're long at this point. This is a good example, actually. And your stop is here. Your stop didn't quite get hit. So you've got about 1R, about 2R, probably about 2 and a bit R by the time you're here. And then now you're back to 1 and a bit R, and it's all a bit like, oh, will it keep going, won't it? This is a coin flip now. It could reverse. We see we've got ATR very low, low enough that the trend could reverse. No one really knows what's going to happen here, but what I will say is that after this failure to go up on the hammer candle, which was a nice bullish setup, things start to look ominous for the downside. So here's how you generally play these things: is in the middle part of a trade, you need to give a trade room to move. So what is emotionally disastrous is a trade that makes 2R and then turns around and stops you out for negative 1R. That means a 3R loss in your trading account. That really hurts emotionally. So even though it's generally suboptimal to do it mathematically, at some point you want to move your stop to here. Now most people move their stop to break even at either 1R, 1.2R, or 1.5R, which is roughly there. So 1.2R is a reasonable choice, and that would place you, when the market gets to here, you move your stop back to here, right? Okay, now if you're playing for an outlier win, like a trend following setup, just adjust this down. Your 4R is one, roughly two, roughly three, roughly four. Your 4R is roughly about here, right? So if it gets to this point, we don't want to be trailing a big wide stop like this anymore, because we're going to give back too much. Once we get to between 3.5 and 5R, depending on your trading system, and you need to look at the distribution of the winners in your trading system. At this point, we want to tighten up our stop. So if it gets to there, we would want to run a progressively tighter stop, something like this, and we would be actively hoping for our trade to be stopped out. So what about this in between? So between 0R and 2.5R, like we've got here, we can't, if we trail a stop 1R behind, we're almost certain to get stopped out. So a stop placed here right now, this is almost certain to get stopped out. You'll get stopped out 60-70% of the time, and if you're going to do that, you may as well just make some profit here. So what's the solution? The solution is we set the trade up into 3 parts. The first part is the early part before the trade makes, between 1 and 1.5R. We have our stop here where it starts off. Then we move our stop to break even. Then once the stop makes about 2R, we trail a very wide stop. So an appropriate stop for 2R would be about probably 0.6, 0.7R, something like about here. So if I were in this trade now, which I'm not, I would be trailing a stop somewhere around here. Now, obviously you can't get everything right all the time. So of your trades, about 30% of them are going to be big winning trades. about 30% of them are going to make 1.2R and then reverse and stop you out for break even. And about 30% of them are going to be shitty winners between 1.5 and 2.5R, and they're going to be very unsatisfying. So what can we do to counter this? We can reduce the standard deviation of our results by banking some profit, and usually about 1/3 or 1/2 profit is about right, at regular points on the way. And it doesn't actually matter too much where you bank those points. What matters is that you do actually bank them. And what this does is, if you're playing for a 4R win, you might get that 4R win one in every, you might have to wait 10 trades to get it. But if you're taking some profit at 2R, you're going to get that much more consistently, and your losing trades are going to be smaller because you banked some profit. So what it's going to do, it's going to lower drawdowns, it's going to let you steady bank profit. So the solution to this is to bank some profit mechanically, and so usually about 2R is about right, 1.5R is okay. So you bank some at 1.5R, leave a loose trailing stop for most trend following systems until you get to sort of 3.5, 4, 5R, depending on the system. Stock systems you can generally 5R is about right because they move further. And at that point, once you get to the up there, then you start to tighten the stop. Okay, hope that helped.